What is any movie without a quality hero and a villain? A diametrically opposed good guy and bad guy are one of storytelling's key dramatic cornerstones, typically requiring filmmakers to cast two well-matched performers against one another. Yet, every now and again, the very same actor will end up playing both roles, because why hire two people when you can just hire one and slather them in a ton of makeup instead, right? Well, let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is Whatculture.com, and these are 10 actors who played the hero and villain in the same film. Number 10, Mike Myers, Austin Powers. So let's kick this list off with perhaps the all-timer example of an actor playing both hero and villain in the same movie, Mike Myers in the Austin Powers franchise. In addition to donning a wig, specs and bad teeth to play the shagadelic titular hero in the original film, Myers also underwent an impressive physical transformation to portray the bold-headed Blofeld-esque Dr. Evil. Believe it or not, Myers didn't initially intend to play both characters, but after Jim Carrey was forced to turn down the Dr. Evil role due to scheduling conflicts, he decided to step in, and after Myers' dual performance was so enthusiastically received, he ventured to one-up it in both of the sequels. In the second movie, he played Austin, Dr. Evil, and hefty Scottish assassin, Fat Bastard, requiring the use of a fat suit and prosthetics, and in the third film, he played all of the aforementioned characters plus the new Goldfinger parodying villain, Goldmember. Number 9, Mia Goth, X. Ty West's recent hit horror film X starred Mia Goth as an aspiring porn actress Maxine Minx, who turns out to be the sole survivor of the movie's ill-fated porn shoot, where the cast and crew are picked off by a horny elderly couple known as Howard and Pearl, who are living on the property. And yet, as wasn't apparent to everyone whilst watching the film, antagonist Pearl is actually also played by Goth herself under some extensive prosthetic makeup, which unsurprisingly took hours to apply each day on set. Goth gives a terrific dual performance in both roles, yet it's a surprising challenge for a low-budget production to saddle itself with, rather than just, casting another actress in the role of Pearl. Furthermore, to everyone's surprise, West secretly filmed a prequel to X, Pearl, which again starred Goth as the younger version of Pearl, to critical acclaim. Number 8, Benedict Cumberbatch, both Doctor Strange movies. Now, Benedict Cumberbatch is a rare actor capable of playing heroes and villains equally capably, a fact that's been put to canny use in both Doctor Strange movies to date. Cumberbatch, of course, played the titular sorcerer superhero in both films, but also faced off against villains who, surreptitiously or not, he performed himself. In the first Doctor Strange, the primordial interdimensional entity known as Dormammu was in fact voiced and performance captured by Cumberbatch, albeit in an uncredited capacity in order to make the villain a twisted mirror image of the superhero. The notion of evil doubles was taken to a whole other level in the recent sequel Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where our heroic Strange faces off against Sinister Strange, an alt-universe variant of himself who's been corrupted by the dark magic book known as the Darkhold. This gave the actor the opportunity to play a deliciously villainous riff on his popular superhero persona, as well as the numerous other Strange variants seen throughout the film. And he clearly relished every damn second of it. Number 7, Hugh Jackman, Logan. Now, Hugh Jackman doesn't tend to take many villain roles, though we got a rare opportunity to play one in his final X-Men movie Logan, all whilst retaining his focal hero part. Jackman, of course, played the movie's beaten-down, world-weary protagonist Wolverine, though in a neat twist, he also ended up facing off against X-24, a clone of himself from his physical prime, who is used as Biotech Corp Alkali Transigen's ultimate weapon. And so Jackman gets to play both the brutalized, pissed-off hero and the ferocious, seemingly unstoppable Terminator-like younger iteration of himself, with the help of some VFX trickery, of course. Though some felt the clone twist was a little tacked on in an otherwise relatively grounded film, for the standards of a superhero movie anyway, Jackman absolutely nailed the duality of these two distinct versions of his most famous and beloved role. Plus, how can watching two Wolverines duking it out not be a ton of fun? Number 6, Lupita Nyong'o, Us. Jordan Peele's Us follows the Wilson family, led by Mother Adelaide, who whilst on vacation are terrorized by a family of tethered doppelgangers who look almost exactly like them. Though all 4 actors playing the Wilsons are cast in 2 roles, Adelaide is clearly the hero of the piece, the protagonist defined by a traumatic past, the particulars of which aren't fully revealed until the film's end. Adelaide's tethered double Red, meanwhile, is an utterly terrifying presence indeed, defined by her piercing eyes and raspy voice. But of course, the very notion of heroism and villainy are thrown into disarray at the film's end, when we learn that Red is actually the real Adelaide, and that the real Red attacked Adelaide and swapped places with her when they were children. Granted, Red, a genetic clone created by the government, is sympathetic to a point given that she didn't ask to be created, the film still calls for Nyong'o to play diametrically opposed characters, and she gives a sublimely award-worthy performance. Number 5. Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. Face Off. Face Off is unlike any other entry on this list, and absolutely fascinatingly unique in how it cast its lead actors as both the hero and the villain. At the start of John Woo's legendary action epic, John Travolta stars as clean-cut FBI agent Sean Archer, while Nicolas Cage portrays the psychotic, murderous maniac Castor Troy. Travolta and Cage are both expertly cast in these roles, yet in the first act, Troy ends up being knocked into a coma, and so Archer is forced to undergo an experimental face-swapping procedure in order to assume his identity and figure out the location of a bomb which is set to imminently detonate. But when Troy wakes up, he forces a doctor to put Archer's face on his own, resulting in both hero and villain now resembling one another. The mechanical silliness of the concept aside, it's a delicious acting showcase for Travolta and Cage, who spend most of the movie playing the opposite characters. Travolta, the unhinged criminal acting with impunity in the body of an FBI agent, and Cage, the hero dangerously encased within America's most wanted man. Number 4. Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2 once again saw Ryan Reynolds suit up to play the role that he was seemingly always born to, the charmingly obnoxious titular superhero and merc with a mouth. But this wasn't Reynolds' only part in the film, as he also provided both the facial capture and the voice for Juggernaut, who serves as a secondary antagonist in the middle of the movie. And yet, it's incredibly easy to miss Reynolds' double role, given that his distinctive natural voice has been pitched down and digitally manipulated in order to disguise it. And this is without getting into the fact that Reynolds technically plays another bad guy in the film's mid-credits scene, where his original version of Deadpool from X-Men Origins Wolverine reappears via archive footage, and in a tremendously cathartic moment for all involved, gets promptly capped in the head by Deadpool. You can take it even further, given that Reynolds also plays a fictionalized version of himself about to sign on to play Green Lantern before Deadpool kills him, because if that ain't villainous, then what the hell is? Number 3. Bruce Campbell, Army of Darkness. If Evil Dead 2 saw its inimitable protagonist Ash Williams combating his own demonic possession, threequel Army of Darkness took this to a whole other level by having Ash literally battle his own demonic doppelganger in the Middle Ages. Campbell is best known for playing the wisecracking, boomstick-toting hero Ash in the franchise, but in Army of Darkness, a physical villainous double is horrifyingly and hilariously birthed out of him. Despite Ash's attempts to quickly dispose of him, evil Ash is resurrected as a grotesque version of the hero, which promptly leads to a deadite assault against Lord Arthur's castle. Campbell clearly had a blast playing the revoltingly decrepit armoured evil Ash, even if it was only inevitable that he'd eventually succumb to Ash's old-timey weapon of choice, a catapult filled with gunpowder. Number 2. Kristen Wiig, Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar is surely one of the most underappreciated comedies of the last few years, a delightfully bizarre Austin Powers-esque spy comedy starring Kristen Wiig and Annie Murmullo as two Midwestern women who get more than they bargained for when they vacation to Florida's Vista Del Mar. And the Austin Powers comparison is especially fitting given that the lead actor, in this case Kristen Wiig, also plays both hero and villain. Primarily Wiig stars as Spirited Star, but also secretly portrays the pale-skinned Bond villain-esque baddie Sharon Fisherman. According to director Josh Greenbaum, test audiences failed to figure out that it was Wiig playing Sharon, and the reaction was much the same amongst general audiences when the film was released. And number 1, Jeff Bridges, Tron Legacy. Though digital de-aging is all the rage right now, back in 2010 it was still an incredibly fresh idea, and one, if we're being honest, which technology hadn't quite sufficiently evolved to do full justice to. Nevertheless, Disney took an impressive, if slightly flawed crack at it with Tron Legacy, where Jeff Bridges plays both franchise hero Kevin Flynn and Clue, a digital replicant of his younger self residing within the grid, who is the film's overarching antagonist. Bridges played Clue via a complex VFX process, where both he and a stand-in would perform the character's physical movements on set, and Bridges' facial movements would then be mapped onto a digital model of his younger self taken from the 1984 movie Against All Odds. Bridges also, of course, provided the voice for the character. While many have complained about the uncanny quality of the CGI ever since Tron Legacy's release, the movie is actually able to get away with it better than most, given that Clue exists only in a digital space, and so the slightly off quality about the VFX could be interpreted as him being an imperfect facsimile of Flynn. Either way, Bridge knocks it out of the park as both hero and villain, no matter the film's noted flaws.